like to think now Xiantaj or Xiantaj, I never get his name right, because he did a lot of the flavor, like not map design, but in some cases map rework and just making the maps look really, really good for the campaigns. Campaigns mission 1 through 4, he's currently working on 4. It looks amazing as well. And doing some extra trigger work. And there are no triggers in the game itself. For those of you who don't know, as a brief aside, so in most editors, and I'm thinking particularly of Blizzard editors or editors in other games such as Slay.1, also made by JBS, developer of this game. Typically in real-time strategy game editors, there are triggers, and triggers mean you can create a box that says when a unit leaves the box or enters the box, do something, or create things here. That's a very, very powerful ability. It has huge ramifications that don't become apparent until you're experienced in using it. And it's all the more difficult when you realize that LittleWarGame doesn't have that function. And yet, despite all of that, still, this guy is fantastic at just making stuff happen you don't think is possible with the editor. Does a lot of good work. If you see him, say hi, and now I'll introduce you both not only to his work, but also to this campaign mission number 1. So, imprisoned, the usurper Fabius has seized the throne and exiled you to Ren Isle. You must escape if you are to defeat him. Map design, story, and editor work by me. Amazing map art, polish, and there's more editor work by Xiantaj. Ding. And we're loading it in. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Come on. I don't ask much. Do your thing. Sweet. So there's one downside to this that needs to be addressed, which is that all of these units over here, you would think I can move them. No, you can't. Demoralized. No weapons, no freedom, no escape. This one can't move either. And you quickly get the sense that none of these can actually move, attack, or do anything. You know who can? Honor is my guide. The Paladin right here. So that is who we're going to start as and focus as. So we've already primed people, and in reverse, the campaigns were made, then tutorials 1 and 2 were made by VTester. VTester did a good job of making people realize that, hey, those floating tutor stones that look suspiciously like this, pay attention to that. So we have a character, even if we don't know what else to do, we look over here at the tutor stone and it says you can attack the false wall in the back of the cell by selecting units, pressing A, and left clicking it. So, a couple of things here. People already know how to attack because of the tutorials. If we try and attack at the front, if you get that idea, this cell door here has an armor of 5. Now, the way that we are making sure that our unit isn't killing it is not because he's limited to 5 damage and the door has 5 health. There's a field in the editor called minimum damage, and it's set on a per unit basis, and that is no matter how much armor the opposing unit or structure or building has, what is the minimum amount of damage that this unit will do? So for this mission, we have set the minimum damage to 0. So even if something has 5 armor and you have 5 damage, you won't get that minimum of 1 damage, you will do no damage. So we can't attack out through the front through this cell door. So we've already been primed to attack this false wall, which has 15 health. And this creates a barrier that people must get past in order to improve. And then we follow this pretty narrow path that honestly, like, the work that was done to make sure you can't see out and around here is really, really cool. We find another one. This passage leads to the armory. Once I get a weapon, I can free the others. So you may have noticed that we have this redhead guy right here, but our image is of this paladin. And it says he has 2 armor, -2, and it has 12 damage, -7, and it says stripped. Without your inventory, you can barely fend for yourself. So if we've looked a little bit into the person that we're using and we read this, we understand, hey, getting a weapon is a good thing. We move up through this passageway, and the next thing we see that's blocking our way is another false wall. So we have to attack the false wall in order to get through. Now, while we're here, if we're not attacking that, we can see this right here before there's any threat or anything like that, an empty chest. It says that it's an empty chest in the description below, and its description is empty. Since it's a chest, if you're sitting here waiting for it, it gives you the idea that there will be one that is filled with something. And so we move in, and we can hold to the top and we see, all right, there's nothing here, and this is empty here, and then we go down and there's an enemy. Now we can attack the enemy outright. This encounter is built in such a way that you can still beat this person even though you don't have your weapon, you don't have your swords, and you have minus damage and minus armor. So I think that's a very, very important thing that's going down right now. And dead. So now there's armor and a sword in here. So there's one peculiarity, and we're going to pull it aside to show this. There's a peculiarity in the editor where if you try and use apostrophe S, it will just ignore the apostrophe like it doesn't exist. That causes some interesting questions sometimes. But here's something else I want to note. So the doors hold fast against your fists. So we want people to get the idea that they cannot attack through here. And if you see, they don't have any health bars or health points. Objects that don't have any health points or are invincible show, if it is an invincible object, it will show no health bar, but it will still have health points. And so we've also taught the person that no matter how much they attack it, and they're trying to, it will not break through. So we're guaranteeing that they have to attack this armor and sword to get through. And all the time that they waste trying to figure that out, if it doesn't come intuitively, gives them an opportunity to regenerate their health fairly quickly. So we're going to go ahead and attack. There's armor and a sword in here. Now let's talk about this right quick. These right here are invincible. They cannot be attacked. But just because they're invincible doesn't mean in the editor that they're not modified by hit point regeneration. So these structures have these right here, these armory doors. Let's say they have a negative 10 hit point regeneration modifier. Left to their own devices, they will naturally lose 10 health per second. Now, this chest right here is giving them plus 10 hit point regeneration. So right now, these are invincible, they take no damage from us, and they're not losing hit points. However, when we destroy this door, and a couple of things happen. One, we will get our armor and suit back, and these things will start losing hit points, even though it doesn't appear like that to the player. Once they lose enough hit points, they die, even though they're invincible. So a way to think about it is if you play a lot of Magic the Gathering, just because something's indestructible doesn't mean it can't be removed from the game. So, with units selected, you can press A and left-click the ground to attack all nearby enemies. This is reinforcing it to players who either did play the tutorial and we're reminding them of its importance because they've just learned it, or we're teaching the player that, hey, you maybe didn't do the tutorial, you need to know that. So, Prison Break, says this soldier as we just wallop him ferociously. And we also see, I cannot escape this island alone. I need to free these prisoners by destroying their cell doors. So I'd actually like to see a speed run and see if it is possible for you to escape by yourself. I don't know if it is, but that would destroy the point entirely, right? So I cannot escape this island alone. I need to free these prisoners by destroying their cell doors. You may have remembered that these doors had 5 armor, and we only had 5 attack because we were in prison. We had nothing to our name. So, but now you can attack them, you can one-shot them quite easily. And it's actually important that you do. So there's another archer, I believe, took it to isolation, but health, escapees, and we're going to wreck him. We destroyed an archer even when we didn't have armor and a sword, so we're definitely going to Shrek this thing right now. If it were up to me, there would be, if it ever gets to Steam or anything, there would be an achievement for breaking your own cell door from outside. I think that's so cool. So a lot of things are happening in the editor right now to cause these units to be selectable but unable to move or do anything. So this door right here, the cell doors, and this is how we get around triggers in general. The cell doors are actually giving plus 10 hit point regeneration to an invisible airship back here. And this invisible airship naturally has negative 10 hit point regeneration. That airship is casting an aura around itself. It's about this size. So the player's units outside the door can't be impacted. That gives them this ability, gives them this modifier of demoralized, which means they can't attack, they can't move, they have a different skin image, etc. When we destroy the door, then the flying airship that's invisible to the player doesn't have any more hit point regeneration. That means its natural hit point loss will cause it to slowly die. Once it dies, it's no longer casting the aura that turns these things into workers and makes them unable to move. So let's see that in action. It's very much similar in practice to what we did over here with the chest in the drawer. So we will attack and attack. And after 1 to 2 seconds, oh look, they're alive and well. So now we have proven to the player that they can get units back. And we're going to left A click and move forward. These are obviously miniature houses. They were just created as new house objects, and the words over them, the doors are tightly locked, are just used using hover text to get that image. So they say that when they're there. And so now we move through. This is one thing that I believe is going to get changed in the future, courtesy of VTester or ZNTosh. Someone's going to make a custom graphic that makes it more obvious that you have to look at these pillars. Right now they just look like decoration. It's actually important that you see them. So this pillar says the armory and cells are up and medical and barracks are down below. So you need to get off of the island somehow, and it's a prison island. So this doesn't give any indication of how you're going to do it. However, it does tell people that two things. So the armory and the cells, you just came from the cells and you came out of the armory. But below are medical and barracks. So medical, you're thinking you could heal people, and the barracks, you're expecting a rough fight. So we're going to go ahead and burst through all of these doors. It's not necessarily to kill all of them to win the fight. I just feel like doing it. Not much to talk about with the editor here, just consistency and storytelling, really. So now we know what to do, because we're going to see these guys up here, and we're like, oh, I know exactly how we're going to take care of you guys. And so we're going to break them out of their shell, and we're going to get another 2 more archers to the crew. And we're going to move the Paladin up to the front. It's important to note that the other units don't have hit point regeneration, but the Paladin does. And he's deliberately designed so that he has 3 more damage, 1 more armor, and 50 more health, and natural regeneration. So we go up here. If you've played a lot of games, especially if you're a big Zelda fan, that the fact that you're getting all these resources will kind of trip your what the heck is going on sensor. But there are multiple guards up ahead. If I select all my forces, press A and left click the ground, I can send all of my forces to attack at once, and this is important that we go ahead and do this. But first, a cell door. So we're going to go ahead and attack the cell door, and this will actually get us to the first journal entry. So where you see a false wall, we've already been conditioned to accept that killing a false wall is what we do to move forward. So we're going to attack it. Now, it's important to note that this journal entry that we're going to see, there are 3 of them in each and every single campaign mission. So this one, Day 17, Entry 4, under a guise of bloodied sands and moneyed silence, the beast has been contained to Ren Isle underneath the watchful priests. Day 17, Entry 4. Now, the day and entry number is actually important, and they're not in chronological order. So you will not find them in chronological order, but in the order that make the most story impact. And just because we found day 17 entry 4 here doesn't mean next mission we'll find day 18. Just a bit of storytelling. The purpose of that is that the fights that we're experiencing now aren't fights that are likely to challenge a player who's experienced with real-time strategy games. However, they are likely to be a challenge, or might even cause failure the first couple of times, to someone who is not familiar with them. So those journal entries are more for the people who otherwise would be bored by the challenge, who are more experienced, have more actions per minute, can know a bit more about the campaign and can manipulate it to their advantage, and they get that story benefit. They get something that it is intriguing to them. In earlier tutorials, there were bonus fights or extra bosses or extra micro tricks that you could do, but here I think the story is what's actually carrying it. So we see select all your forces, then hold Control or press 1 to create a control group, which we have done, and we will hit A and move forward. Again, it would not normally take us 12 minutes to get to this point in the story, in this campaign. You could easily, I believe, beat this in about 8 minutes, maybe 9 minutes. But we're using all of this time to move forward and explain the tutorial, the editor work inside of it, and the reasoning behind it to help you make better tutorials or better mods in the editor, and also to explain the thought that went into it. Also, this is going to be a full run of everything that's in these, so it might be a little bit longer than normal. Press 1 to select all of your units, provided that you did the control group trick earlier. Press it twice quickly to move their location. See what I'm saying? 1, 1, 1, 1. Now, there are extra units down here that we don't have to fight, and we're not going to. There are 2 archers in here. I guess we'll fight them because I can tank with this dude. 2 archers are hardly going to do anything over here to our Paladin. And we're going to take it out easily. Everyone else, we don't really want them to take any hits because they can't regenerate. But you don't have to have even decent micro like this, where your other units don't take any hits at all in order to move forward. I would actually like at this point to give thanks to a player called Dark Phoenix, who discovered that some of the campaign missions were frankly too difficult, and took it upon himself to give that advice, and we used that advice to improve the quality of them. So now we're going to go over here. So airship and departures up above. We want to get off the island, so this is the victory condition, and barracks and medical below. Because this is a 100% run, we're going to go down below. It's important that we go down below, not just so that we can kill everything that moves, but also so that we can see what the journal entry is. Because I think it's a fairly understood point, or well done or well known, that if players are fighting something that they don't have to, there should be some kind of reward for them doing so. You know, what do they get out of it? In this case, what they get out of it is journal entries, and they get medical if they're more gameplay minded or if they're weak, like their units are feeling weak. So we do see a couple of barracks here and units, barracks as promised, and units, which makes sense thematically given what they are. So we're going to stick around and kill some of these, although it's not necessarily necessary for the purpose of reading this. Day 17, entry number 5, where once I dreamt of delivering the creature for study, now my struggle to keep it locked away shows my folly. And what it showed me, ... cliffhanger. We're not going to kill all of these, but we do have a weak guy, so we're going to go over here to airship departures and cells up over to the left, medical to the right. Remember how we prime people that healing areas are good? Yeah, healing area is definitely good. So we're going to heal up these units for a little bit and take the Paladin up in front. And now we're going to go win the fight and win the mission. Again, it normally wouldn't take us the 15 in-game minutes it has up until this point. However, we're going through a 100% run of every aspect, and it's going on YouTube later. So, hi YouTube. It's not necessary for us to kill these barracks. It doesn't give us any gameplay advantage, and they're not of any threat to produce units against us. I know that you may not necessarily have, but feel free to run through. So now we see another, just an irritating little soldier up here, and we will kill him, and we will move forward, and we will get 2 more soldiers. So you may have heard the sound of the birds dying right there. What happened is that the birds, we've been playing with HP regeneration and autocast abilities thus far. This is no different. So the Paladin naturally has an ability where as he moves forward, he will naturally cause negative HP regen to biological flying units such as birds. Those units we saw over here were vision -1, so not seeable through fog of war, invisible and unselectable birds for the player. And they're set so that they have 0 mana. Now, when the Paladin gets close to them, he not only causes them to slowly lose health, he also causes them to gain mana. When they gain this mana, they have an ability called Trained Soldier, and it is selected as an auto-cast ability in the editor. So, when they get to full mana, they will automatically create 1 soldier. However, because of the negative HP regeneration that the Paladin brings them, they will die as soon as they have, roughly as soon as they have created 1 soldier. And so we've created the illusion of creating 2 soldiers for the players and providing them for them without actually doing too much insanity. There's a hum of an airship and the cluster of guards ahead. It's time to get off this damnable island. I could not agree less. And you will see why I say that. So there is a big fight here, but if we've been keeping even decent numbers of units alive, then we're going to do all right. And we're probably going to take this fight without any losses. The prison entrance down below in the mainland is over to the right. And we see here that it says, once we steal an airship from this port, we can make our way east to the mainland. That's a hint that, hey, go east to the mainland. But if you ever have played a game where you're being railroaded, then you know that you don't like getting railroaded. So we will leave all of these units here, because they can stay on the island, and we will go over here. So a couple of things. Notice, you might worry that this is an out-of-bounds concern, like, oh, we can drop him anywhere, he can go anywhere. But this dark blue water over here is actually impassable terrain. So an airship can cross over it, but we can't drop units down into it. This is a cool trick that was done by Ziantosh. So look at the rocks that we're seeing. And now notice how they split. It says east to go to the mainland. So if we go up this way, as I will show you later, then we will win the mission. We will get past it. However, as we follow these rocks, we notice that, more rocks. So the same rocks that guide us to the exit are also an incidental clue that there is something else going on that we should pay attention to. As we continue on, we notice that we can go all the way around here, and the 100% selection junkies of us will think, huh, more rocks. All right. As you continue on, you will discover the third journal entry, which is conveniently, I know where it is. So right here by all the rocks. So let's drop for thematic. And it says, day 17, entry number 6. I pored over scholarly text from across the seas. Despite an entire division subdued in the capture attempt, I learned that this creature had been uncharacteristically weak, and uncharacteristically alone. So this is the final journal entry, satisfying the 100% completion of all of us, and we're going to go ahead and follow these rocks up here, and that's going to end the mission. Now, the way that we've ended the mission is, once again, playing with hit point regeneration and negative or invisible units. Negative values, that is. So when we go over, you're going to see an island that we're going to drop by. That island has an invisible castle on it, and it is the only structure in the entire map that has prevents loss on it. That is, it's the only structure that has to be destroyed so that we can win this mission. However, when we get here, the airship will naturally cause negative HP regeneration, which will kill that unit and end the game for us. So quit, and that's it for now. We're going to close out of this and come back into campaign number 2.